We all want our kids to grow up to be adaptable and strong, rooted in faith and not fear. So let's talk today about how we can encourage that.
Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hewkin. I think the overlying theme of this, when you say that to me, is that I do believe God made kids resilient, like by default. I mean, think of like little babies. I mean, yeah, they seem super fragile, but anybody that actually deals with babies on a pretty regular basis doesn't super coddle them in a way,
Yeah.
right? Like you hand somebody, I think of all the instances, and dads, you can relate to this, I think, but like we hand dad that baby for the first time and he's almost like, oh my goodness. Or better yet, maybe not so much dad, first time dad maybe, but it's like uncle. Like I was uncle to a baby before I ever started seeing babies in our office or having our own babies, anything like that. It was like, oh, I'm worried I'm going to break them. Like, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? But it couldn't be further from the truth. I remember when our twins were born and like the nurse was like, she was just like, I was like, hey, it
Oh,
was like, wait a second. No, I think they're actually okay, and now it's just so different, and so that's even as an infant, right? But I'm talking kids, toddlers, right? I mean, our son right now, I said to him the other day, "Bud, your shins make me hurt. Just bruised up from the bottom of the knee all the way down to the top of the foot." And I'm like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "I don't know." And it's just like rough and tumble and out and playing. And oh, I just love it, and I think that God designed them to be that way, to be and then asks us as parents to actually cultivate that resiliency within them, not coddle them and snowplow parent them out of any harm's way or anything
Even
like
though
that.
that's hard to do.
Oh, it is, because you don't want them to hurt.
Yeah, so my mom, we went to a parade the other day, and my mom had gotten one of those magazines from Walmart that, when it's close to Christmas time, they come out with all the toys and the kids love to go through
Oh,
them.
sure.
And so she's like, "Here, kids, take this and circle some stuff that you want." I think everything was circled.
Right.
But just yesterday when I was driving with the kids, they're like, "Oh, maybe she'll get us that trampoline that I circled in there." And I was like, "Oh, no. We don't want a really big trampoline because we could like fall and, break an arm or, whatever."
And I always say, "Oh, their dad's a chiropractor, it'll be fine."
Right. And
I mean, not the
I
broken arm, but like if they tweak something or something
yes,
like that.
but it's like I tend to gravitate towards very cautious snowplow parenting
Sure.
because I just want the best for them, but that's not always how they learn.
Well, and I think it's only natural as parents of anyone, for it doesn't have to be parents, it's just someone that you care for. You don't want them to be hurt. And if I might be so bold as to say, we might be fearful of them getting hurt, right?
Yeah.
And that's definitely not what we're called towards, is any aspect of fear in our life. But I think a little bit of that, it's not our fault. I think society breeds a fear-based construct in the way that we raise our children, especially when it comes to things like their health. Like I think of all the time, I think of this two words that seemingly are total opposite or have nothing to do with each other, but I say sanitization, like a sanitary lifestyle for our children. I think of that versus like a symbiotic relationship or environment for our children. And it's like, well, those two words scientifically don't really even mean opposite things. What do they have anything to do with it? But I think the world's like, oh, be super clean, don't get dirty. Our son like loves to get in the dirt, and we over medicate and we do all these things and we sanitize everything and hand sanitize, like all of that is like clean, 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 clean. And that's just like breeding into our brain of like, oh, germs bad, like don't stay away. And then the other aspect of it is like, wait a second, there's actually this symbiotic relationship that a child has to learn to interact in their environment. And I'm not saying never wash your hands or anything like that. So I feel like you're looking at me like,
I can't wait.
but there's this aspect of, it really comes down to, in this construct, it's germ theory versus terrain theory. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
I think that this is the only area, and I'm not saying that I'm 100% this way and you're 100% this way.
Like 95.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
This is like the one area that I feel like you and I don't always see eye to eye on.
So we're going to fight
Yeah.
right here on camera?
Yes.
You guys ready?
And, it's like, I don't know if it is like the nurse in me, or if it's just the way I am, or what. Like, I'm all about introducing ourselves, like not being afraid of germs and all of that. But I will say that my default is fear. Like, let's not lick the panda glass at the zoo. Like, we don't really need our face to be on there. And oh, how many other people touch that? And now you're putting your hand in your
It
mouth.
just makes me think there's this time. It was the height of COVID, y'all. And we had taken a family trip, September, probably so almost to the year, what would have been 5 years ago, September 2020. And we'd gone down a little bit earlier. We were meeting some friends at the beach. Remember, we walked out, and
Oh my
still, it's
gosh,
like to this
yes.
day, Ab's, best family vacation ever. Like, we have this
Yes.
one picture. We just like drove down. We made it to the beach. Almost no one around. It was just very much so like low travel populace, in the world or
Mhm.
whatever. But it's height of COVID, so like everybody's worried about sanitization and cleanliness and all this kind of stuff. And we're like, hey, wait, where'd Avery go? And we look over, I think it was Avery,
Yeah.
and she's licking a graphic on the door that goes into the ice cream shop. It was like
It was like
made
an
it
ice
look like
cream
an ice
cone.
cream, and she's over there like licking the pretend ice cream. And we're like, oh goodness, like there's our kid right now. Everybody's worried about cleanliness, and she's licking
the ice cream
right next to the handle that they have to open the door with, and
Oh,
stuff.
so
And it's just,
grody.
again, look how great she's turned out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I yes, we do have a opposing viewpoint, you could say, on this theory in particular. And I think in some regard, yes, we have to give and take. I definitely would shy more towards the terrain theory of things, in the sense that like we have to work in this symbiotic relationship with our environment. Bugs, germs, bacteria. I'll say bugs. Like I said that to our kids the other day. They're like, we have bugs in us? And I was like, kind of.
Yeah.
But actually the number, do you know this? I've probably shared it with you before. How many, like what there's more of in and on us? Bacteria cells or human cells?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then that it's, so it's bacteria cells, and the number is 10 to 1. So there's roughly in an adult human like 37 trillion cells, human cells. Well, that means that there's north of 370 trillion bacteria in and on us at any given time. And it's like, holy smokes. Some of y'all are wanting to go wash your hands right now thinking about that. And I'm telling you, don't worry about it. Like the antibacterial soaps, look them up. It's not good for you. It's not good for the environment. Antibiotics have been way, way, way overprescribed. We're now having to come up with new ways, because these things and their little evolutionary constructs are trying to come up with ways to survive the stuff that we're putting them through. And it's just creating literal super bugs. Like,
Yes.
That's a problem. Right now on our skin, like there's bacteria. We need them. They're helping us. If you cut your arm, right? A kid's going to go out and get cuts and scrapes. They have to have vitamin K to be able to clot that. Do you know where we get vitamin K from? Our gut. You know what makes it? Primarily, like lots of bacteria do, but the number one player is E. coli. Like if you said, oh my goodness, if I had E. coli on my sandwich, I'm dead. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. There's probably some E. coli. Actually, this is gross. We were attacking tech on the last one, and we're going to talk about it, I think, in a future episode again. But like this number of studies that say there's like fecal matter on your cell phone, boom, right to your face.
Oh,
like,
no. Always on speakerphone.
Come on, right? So anyway, okay, I feel like I'm going down the rabbit hole. But what I'm trying to say is that we have to allow our kids to get a little dirty, a little grimy, a little something underneath their fingernails, because it might be helpful more than it's hurtful.
And I do agree with that. So as much as I'm like, oh, let's not like, put our mouth on the shopping cart,
like I'll ask my kids not to kiss the animals. Like,
yes,
you know what I'm saying? It's
yes.
like, oh, that's maybe you don't want to do that.
Right. And so it's like as much as I am there, it's just like, well, what else is there? You know what I mean? But I also really believe in building your kids to be resilient and adaptable to the germs that they do come in contact with. I think that if you, are over medicated, or, because all of that destroys also your gut.
Sure.
But then if you're also just in this bubble where your body has never even built a little bit of an immune system in regards to these things that you're exposed to, I do believe that that's where an issue lies as well. And then, of course, our kids are always barefoot.
Absolutely.
And, the food that they eat, we talk about sugars and we talk about, the bad soldiers and the ones that weaken our system, and we don't want that, and just different things so that they can also feel empowered when they make those decisions
Right.
of what's best for their health. As parents, we love finding natural ways for our family to feel their best, and that is why we chose Llama. They make genuine Baltic amber jewelry for both kids and adults, known for its soothing and grounding properties. For little ones, it's a beautiful natural option to help with teething and inflammation, and for adults, it can help ease tension and bring a sense of calm throughout the day. Each piece is handcrafted from authentic Baltic amber. It's never plastic, never imitation, just simple, natural comfort that fits your lifestyle. Check out the link in our description to shop Llama, natural comfort for the whole family.
Well, I think, again, there's a lot of different ways I think we can continue to talk about this, but there's a resilient body, there's a resilient immune system, there's a resilient mind, right? Like all these different things, I think that we want a degree of resiliency for our kids. I heard it said one time that, I'm probably going to get this messed up, but something along the lines of like a high level of resilience is basically being able to take on a bad situation or bad news and it like not affect you, right? So same thing, like immune system wise, like you encounter someone who has the flu or has a virus or something like that. And if you're highly adaptable, if you're highly resilient and from an immune standpoint, press on. No worries, not at all, right? If you're highly resilient to a tough situation, we talked about it. I said snowplow parenting. We were raised by a generation of parents oftentimes described as helicopter parents. Well, they say now the helicopter parented children are trying to be these snowplow parents. So that was the analogy I was making a second ago. It's like they're just like plowing every difficulty out of their children's way that they'll ever have to encounter. And so while I think there are multiple ways, watching the foods that we eat, making sure we're resting, getting proper, even just simple things like hydration and avoiding sugars and processed foods, and all of these different things are so good for their immune systems and that aspect of resiliency. Talk about what you think. And I love you do this with our kids all the time. You say, sounds like you need some practice at X, Y, or Z. Like talk about building a resilient minded child.
Yeah. Just in terms of their character, right? And the way that they look at opportunities or challenges and
obstacles are opportunities.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And so anytime if our kid is whining or, I don't want to or I can't do that, first of all, we don't say that.
Nothing.
And so I'm like,
Nothing gets me more
this is
fired
a
up
good
than
chance.
that 4-letter word right there. Can't.
Yes.
I don't like that one.
And so I'll say, oh my gosh, it sounds like you need more practice at doing really hard things. And then they're like, oh, she got me.
Jennings especially.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's it. He just goes full slump like, oh, no, Mom.
And so I'm like, I'll help you. Let's do this together. And, we can do that. And then I'll find something else for you to work really hard at. And just to teach yourself that you can do that. Because I do think that your mind is so powerful, your mind and your gut, and they're connected. So, it's like whatever you believe in your mind that comes out, in one way or another. And so whether that's health in the way that you think about health in your body and how you treat your body, or if that's even just as something as simple as knowing that you can overcome a challenge or something that's a difficult task to do.
Yeah. I made me think of this the other day, just the aspect of the mind. It's like, hey, I do my best. I try hard. Things like that. I think there's a time and a place for affirming in our children their greatness that we see out of them. But I saw this study, I don't know, a few years ago, and they contrasted two, and I don't know exactly how they did it. But basically, this group of kiddos, they gave both of them the different tests. They said harder. I don't remember exactly, but this group of kids at the completion of the task or the test, they said, "Wow, you are so smart. Holy smokes. Look how great you did. Look how smart you are." And then this group of kiddos, even though their scores on the tests that they were asked to perform were lower, they said, "I'm just so proud of how hard you tried. I could tell that you gave your best effort. You didn't give up. You tried hard, right? And so then they got these two things, and then they like swapped the tests on them, or however, again, I don't remember the exact aspect of the story, but the second time around, the kids that they told and affirmed, you're so smart too, their scores dropped significantly. And the try hard kids, they improved significantly. Like it was a marginal difference. We'll have to look that up, see if we can find it. But it was so affirming to me. It's like, wow, like if you have the mindset that I can accomplish things, I can try hard, I'm not going to give up, versus you have this entitlement almost mindset of like, well, I'm so smart, this should be easy. I've seen that with our kiddos at times where they like get frustrated in themselves. They're like, or the twins especially, they'll look over how far along is she.
Always.
And I remember being that, like I wanted to be the first kid done with the word search when I was in
so I get you
second
to blame
or third grade.
for
Yeah, exactly. Like these things, it's like, no, suddenly you're making mistakes and you're not doing things that you know how to do, and it's just because that mindset piece was not cultivated within them to say, hey, you've always, no matter what, just got to try your hardest. And so I think that's a simple thing for us to be able to do as parents, to actually push our children into the more resilient minded child that we want them, minded adult we want them to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you talk about the 7 pillars of vitality a lot. But really quick, just run down those of what we could, making sure that we are building not only for our kids but for our whole family.
Yeah, and I think it's important because I do actually believe it's a mind, body, and soul 7, if you will.
Yeah.
I think we listen to them. We think about them in our own selves as adults. I apply them to my own life, but how do we do that for kids? I think it's important. Adaptability is number one. The easiest thing in our world is I can check this box with our kiddos, but they get adjusted on a regular basis all the time. I think that is so huge. Adjustments are oftentimes noted through a chiropractic lens of like, well, they help with headaches and back pain and neck pain and all that stuff. And sure, our kids have come to us with an ache or a pain, Jennings jumps off the retaining wall too high, or, who knows what happens, right? And that's important. They need that aspect of it. But we know, scientifically speaking, is that adjustments, when properly applied, actually change the nervous system's ability to adapt to the environment that it's in. So it reduces that stress load that's happening inside of their body. So I think every kid in the world needs a chiropractor. A pediatric trained one specifically would be really wise. 2 is detoxification. We're going to talk about this more as we go, but like detoxing from the toxic world we're in and around, for sure. I see kids all the time, they need screen detoxes or technology detoxes. The brain is not wired to have so much, adult brains are not wired to have so much stimulus put into them. So that would be an easy place to start if you're kiddo. If you're like, I get that question a lot. It's like, what detox should I do for my child? I'm like, start with their iPad.
Yes.
Seriously. Like that's just a huge one, because if you can allow their brain to have less inputs, then it can manage more of what's going on in their physical body. But then, there are gentle, adaptogenic or herbal, homeopathic based like detoxes. There's we can put this, link this in the description, but it's BioRay Kids. I love BioRay Kids products. Those are great gentle detoxes that just help the gut and the gut be healthy. Therefore the mind be healthy. Number 3 would be nutrition. Got to put good food in. If nothing else, cut out the sugar for the kids. That's a first step. If you can find ways to limit their sugar intake to near zero in a daily amount. I mean, even for adults, it's 25 grams roughly. Men and women, it's a little different.
Now, is that like fruit sugars as well, or just added sugars?
I'm not so worried about fruit sugars. I say all the time to people, like, I've never known anyone to get diabetes from an apple, you know? Like, I don't think that's inherently too concerning. Our kids do eat a lot of fruit. Sometimes that is like, oh, okay, whatever.
But we also trust that their bodies know what they need.
What they need, exactly. Let them listen to that. It's amazing, okay, I keep bringing this up, but during 2020 times, we went to like pre-packaged things, and we had these in the offices where we'd give out for treats for the kiddos. They were like suckers. And the kids always wanted the suckers for sure. But prior to that, we had always done apples and bananas and oranges. They'd get devoured. But then in the office, when there was both, they went to the suckers, which were like a vitamin C, like healthy, natural, no dyes sucker. But they went to the sucker, which it's just hardened sugar on a stick, really. I mean, again, I appreciate that brand for doing that. But the fruit bowl started getting neglected. And it was because we were like, well, maybe for the parents that want the prepackaged thing, the sanitary type stuff, okay, we'll go with that. But then we cut those out, and guess what? Now we can't keep fruit in the offices for nothing because the kids come in, even kids that sometimes have, the full disposal of candy and, all that kind of stuff. They're eating green apples and oranges and bananas and things like that, that otherwise their parents are like, oh, I can't get them to eat this at home. Like, what's just the option we have here for them, So again, if you have that option for them, absolutely go with a cup of strawberries instead of a strawberry popsicle, at the end of a meal if they want something sweet or something like that. 4 is hydration. Kids got to hydrate, get minerals, get electrolytes. That's a great thing to do. We make sure our kiddos have that every single day. 5 is rest, and they have to be resting. They have to have a rhythm with their rest. They should, at the very least, go to bed at the same time every night. That would be an amazing place to start. Have a wind down routine. Mindfulness. Again, this is the spirit aspect of it, but let's be praying with our children. Let's give them opportunities. When when our son wants to get like frustrated at times or things like that, let's just take 5 minutes and go find out from God what we're grateful for, right? Let's go talk to God about that. And, I just see such a change in his energy whenever I do send him to his room to go have those moments alone with the Lord. I really do believe that he has them too. It's amazing. But I think that's a great practice for our kiddos, starting to cultivate some rhythm of spiritual direction for them, to know who the Lord is and what he would have for them in life. And then lastly is movement. Get outside and play. Sunshine is good. Feet on the ground. Our kids run around barefoot in the sun all the time, and I love it. It's so good for them. They need to be moving way, way more. Most kids live a very sedentary. I remember when we were young, they had that 60 minutes a day play. It's like, that shouldn't be a hard task to accomplish. Especially, again, you got toddlers from 2 to, if they're going to be in school, then it's about 5 years old. That time should be spent exclusively outside playing. Like, I would worry zero about your children having any formal alphabet or math training or anything like that if it means that you're going to take away time from them from being outside.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do. I think that, just being barefoot and connecting and grounding that way is so good for them and their little feet and all of that. I just love that.
I always joked when our kids were little, good feet means a good brain.
Yes.
Because there's so many neural receptors and all this stuff that's communicating, and we bind our kids' feet up, and then I think we bind their minds up because of that. And it's like, we need to allow that to not happen.
Yeah. And, back to the nutrition aspect too, we kind of touched on it, but just food dyes. It's like, if you can't change
processed foods,
anything, if you can't do drastic changes, just start with food dyes. Their brains are so inflamed from the food dyes. And I know that you would see such a 180 in a kid's behavior and mannerisms just by taking out those food dyes. And you have to do it consistently. You can't just do it really good one day and then not the next. You won't see change. And so I've talked to a lot of parents who are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I feel like I have to shove a screen in front of his face. He doesn't listen. He just cries. He just, all of this. I'm like, their little brains are inflamed. So for one, let's up the food dyes, and then we'll go to, step 2, we'll remove the screens. And
that's huge.
Yeah.
I've seen so many parents do this, like on social media. I've seen, hey, we're on day 7. I think of this couple, they actually live down in Texas, and it's a little while ago, but they posted about this. I'd never even really heard of the concept, but they said we're on day 7 with, I don't remember their daughter's name, but of no screens. And here are the changes we see.
Wow.
It was wild. They're like, she's more attentive. She's less argumentative. She's, I will say the word because that's what we've been talking about, more resilient. I don't know the exact word they use, but basically it was like, she's able to cope with their environment more. And it's different because every couple of seconds when we're on a screen, whether it's just scrolling, like our kids even love to do this. They love to look at photos on our phone. And there are times where we say, yeah, go ahead, go for it, right? But even in that, it's just search and find. And there's a dopamine effect and hit that happens inside the brain that we can't even handle with our fully developed frontal cortexes, that they are starting to ingrain to scroll to the next photo, or other kiddos, it's roll on to the next reel, or, play the next game or do the next thing. And it's just again, I'm not saying zero, never, but oftentimes that's a huge thing. We got into the detox side of things here again on my rabbit hole, but yes, we have to be putting good food in. If you're looking for something to cut out, do the red dyes, processed, anything heavily processed. But I said red dyes. I just mean food dyes in general.
Yes, but red can just be super.
Red is anger, especially to to our son.
Yes, yes. And so, having healthy kids, it's not just luck, right?
No.
And so,
Hope's not a strategy.
yeah, hope is not a strategy.
Prayer is.
Mm-hmm.
We can definitely pray. I think that's an important piece of it, but go on.
Yeah. Well, I just was going to say, we would love to know what you are doing to build strong and adaptable kiddos. So please let us know. From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do His will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abbie Hewkin.